What's poppin'? It's your girl Jazzy J. How y'all doing today? Welcome to my channel. If you're new around here, welcome. If not, what is up, Buttercup? Last week we had talked about, or I had talked about, coping mechanisms. My coping mechanisms specifically for dealing with anxiety. And I told you guys that for this Sunday, I wanted to talk to y'all about depression and trying not to be censored by YouTube. Yay! So getting into this topic, I think it'd be good if I gave y'all some background on my mental illness and then give you guys basically how I came up with my own coping mechanisms and ways to manage my depression and my tendencies to want to end things, simply put. So going back to when I was diagnosed, this was back in sophomore year of high school, either sophomore or junior year of high school. I was severely depressed. When I say I was severely depressed, I mean I was crying myself to sleep every single day for 4 years. Every day. I was miserable. I hated myself. I was Christian at the time. I believed God hated me. I believed my family hated me. I believed I had no friends. I believed pretty much everybody hated me. It was a dark place. And I knew that I had something wrong with my brain because nobody else was experiencing and feeling this as much as I was, or they never talked about it. And I talked to the counselor in high school and she's like, you probably have depression. So I went and told my parents, and the counselor basically had to convince my parents to take me to the doctor, and they did eventually, and then I was clinically diagnosed with depression. So here's the thing, depression, of course, people know, comes about in two ways. You either have a traumatic experience that sets it off, or you're born with it. And for me, I am the latter. I was born with depression, and it did not make itself presently known until I got to that middle school, high school area. And I think a big reason behind that was because my parents, as I talked about that before, specifically my mother, are very, very toxic individuals. And my schooling went like this. Public, private, homeschool, public, private. It's been a hectic schooling career for me and for my sibling, to say the least. It made itself very present when I was homeschooled in middle school. And then from high school, it just it got bad. It got real bad. I'm gonna be honest with you. If it were not for two people, I would have ended things a long time ago. My mother basically told me that my depression was just me acting out and being hormonal, and I needed to get over myself. I even talked to her about medication. She told me, and I apologize if this bothers anybody, but I'm just gonna be very honest. She told me that people who are on medication belong in a mental institution. And that pretty much scared the crap out of me. Mind you, at the time I was 14, 15, I lived a very sheltered life, did not know about pretty much anything, to be quite honest with you. I mean, I was homeschooled. For a lot of the time that people figure out things, I was being homeschooled. So I didn't have that whole revelation and different things like that. I was pretty much scared out of taking medication. I have absolutely no problems with anybody taking medication. That if you take medication to balance your chemical imbalance in your brain, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I'm just saying that is what my mother told me. And pretty much everybody that I have ever talked to about that had a very big issue with that, including myself. But at the time, I didn't know. Plus, with the stress of feeling like I wasn't going to be able to accomplish anything, the stress of being able to go to college, the stress of I have to drive myself and my sibling to school, and then drive both of us to practice and make sure that everything is good and a-okay. And being the older sibling, I had this standard that I was pretty much expected to do, and if I didn't do it, then I was pretty much like a failure, and I couldn't do anything right, and I was always getting blamed for things, and it was a lot. It was a lot. And as the days went by, the only thing that I wanted more than anything else was to end it. That was it. I wanted to end it all. I couldn't do it anymore. So that kind of leads into coping mechanisms. I'm gonna be very honest. If you are as depressed as I was, find that somebody to live for. And when I say this, I mean when you are at this word up here and you feel like you can't live for yourself, you have to find somebody else to live for if you want to keep living. That's really it. That's what worked for me. I found one person, and then others slowly started to come in, but I found one person, and I latched on to that person legitimately like my life depended on it. Because it did. It did. The sheer fact of knowing this person would cry at me leaving this world was enough to keep me going. I know, again, I feel like I should have put this disclaimer at the beginning. I am not a doctor. I am not a therapist. I am not a psychiatrist. I am not anybody who has any clinical studies in this field. Everything that I'm saying is based off of experience. This is things that happened with me, myself, and I. These are things that I am sharing in the hopes that somebody will be able to take some of this and utilize it themselves so that you can actually feel better and know that you're not alone out there. And I'm gonna be honest, maybe not a lot, but some people who do go into that route of being a therapist or being a doctor or being a psychiatrist have never experienced some of these mental illnesses that they are trying to help other people with. Again, this is only some. Probably a good amount of them have personally experienced it, whether it was with themselves or with somebody that they knew that was very close to them, but some of them just don't quite get it. There's only so much that you can learn from a textbook. It's something completely different, but regardless of all that, I'm kind of getting off topic here. I want to share all this with you guys to really help from a person who has this experience and has been dealing with this for 10 years now. I'm not that old. Okay, we're just gonna say that now. I'm not that old. Been dealing with it like rampantly for like 10 years. So that's coping mechanism number one, is when you're feeling that depressive state, or it's a constant state, which happens. It happened for 4 years for me. It's just constant state of depression. Find that person, latch on to that person, and don't ever let go until you feel like you are able to live for yourself. I don't care what you have to do. Just survive. That's number one, surviving. Number two, coping mechanism. I make really weird twos. Okay, anyway. Number two, for me, I've been told that I'm a very self-aware person, and I take that as a compliment and kind of as a concern. I know when my depression is going to hit. I know what my triggers are. I know how I'm going to deal with them, and I know what to do to make sure that it doesn't happen again. I'm going to give you some of those examples, just so you know. For me, trigger number one, stress. And when I say stress, I mean copious amounts of stress for an elongated amount of time. I am under some serious pressure for like a solid week. By the end of the week, not even that long, by day 3 or 4, I'm done. I'm tired. I don't want to do anything. I don't want to talk to people. I want nothing to do with this world. I just want to tap out. I want to go. I'm just like, I can't do it. I don't know what to do. That's a big one for me right there, is stress. The second one for me that is a pretty big trigger as well is rejection. And even more specific than rejection is the feeling of being forgotten. Rejection in and of itself is something that I've always had an issue with, because growing up, I was a people pleaser. So whenever I was rejected, I always felt like I wasn't doing enough. What I'm doing is not good enough. I am not good enough. And I've come to terms with myself of just people being like, it's not that you're not good enough, it's just that they're not interested, and that's fine. So I've come to terms with that for myself, and I've gotten over that. But when I was younger, that was a really big thing. Now, the being forgotten thing, that still bothers me, especially around my birthday. I am a Mother's Day baby. I was born on Mother's Day. Growing up, when I was a toddler into a child, I would always have a birthday party. But the people who were my friends, which I didn't really have any friends growing up, didn't come to my birthday parties or didn't invite me to any birthday parties, so I really ended up spending it alone or with my family, which is fine, but as you guys know, my family is not right. So as I got older, my birthday either falls right before it, on Mother's Day, or right after it. And it got to the point where people would just straight up forget my birthday. Or, which always made me feel so happy and so loved, my birthday would be on Mother's Day. And I would wake up and they would say, "Happy birthday!" And then for the rest of the day, I was pretty much expected to dote on my mother and make the entire day about her. For those of you who have or don't see the issue with this, yes, you should celebrate your mother so long as they're not toxic. But you have 2 days out of the year to celebrate both your birthday and Mother's Day. You have 2. Growing up as a child, I have 1. And it was forgotten. And not just one time, multiple times. Year after year. Or it was very haphazard. Okay? For the last 5 to 10 birthdays, I have cried myself to sleep. So I don't really care about what people have to say, and I should appreciate my mother. I've cried myself to sleep for the past 5 to 10 birthdays. I don't think that's a good thing, and I don't think my mother would be very happy with that either. So just keep that in your mind when you think about that, okay? But to me, that is a very big trigger. Being rejected and being forgotten. And when that happens, I just want everything to end. It's a very steep cliff, okay? When that happens for me. The third trigger, I would say, which is not too big, it doesn't happen too often, is when you throw me into a crowd of people. If you set off my anxiety and my anxiety is not taken care of, then I become depressed. And if I'm depressed in a sea of people, then I become even more anxious. And then it's just kind of this positive feedback loop, which from my science people, y'all know. But essentially they keep bouncing off of each other, building on each other, until it gets to the point where I want to pop and end it all. Okay? Positive feedback, not negative feedback. Positive feedback loop. That's what it is. Should I insert a picture? Maybe I'll insert a picture. Okay. Those are my triggers. In coping with your depression, and especially in coping with the feeling of wanting to end everything, being able to know what your triggers are is a very big next step after having your survival just there. You have your person that you have latched onto. Now you know what your triggers are. Once you figure out what your triggers are, after that you need to figure out, A, if you become depressed, how do you get out of it? And B, if it feels like these triggers are slowly starting to be set off, how do you bring them back down so that your depressive episode doesn't happen? Which is basically what I ended up learning from myself. Because, again, there's only so much that the therapist is going to be able to help you with. And I only got therapy when I was in college, and that was more so to make sure that I didn't jump in front of my semi-truck, more so than trying to control these thoughts. It's not the same. It's not going to work the same, which, of course, y'all understand that. There's not really too much advice that I can give you in that regards to figuring out how to, how to manage your triggers and find ways out of your depressive episode. I can give you my examples. For me, some of the things that really helped me: video games, watching anime, and from time to time cooking and baking can help. But I would say watching anime, playing video games, or sometimes taking care of my plants, just escaping reality is a really big helper to me. I just need that time to reset. And if I can't do any of those things, just take a nap. I always take a nap if I'm really feeling it. And I'm not smiling, I'm not laughing, I'm not doing anything with the video games or my anime or my plants or my baking or anything like that. I just take a nap. I just reset. I reset myself. And I think there's absolutely nothing wrong with taking a nap. If you feel like you need to take a nap, if you feel like you're tired and you need to reset, then take a nap. It's not the end of the world. If your nap ends up being 8 hours long, then guess what? You needed it. Your body needed it. Don't beat yourself up because, oh my gosh, the day is gone. Okay, but you're alive, right? You woke up, right? You're feeling better, hopefully, right? Then I think you're fine. You can be productive afterwards, but right now you just need to survive. The triggers, it's a lot more complicated, I guess you could say, or at least it's harder to explain. So say for example, I'm gonna use college. In college, people get stressed. It's a thing. You're just gonna get stressed out. When I get stressed because of a exam, for example, it's exam week, and I knew for a fact that I was getting stressed out, and it was because of homework, it was because of studying, it was because of something, I would stop. I would legitimately stop whatever I was doing. It didn't matter. And I would just kind of do whatever I wanted to do. If that meant playing video games, if that meant watching anime, if that meant hanging out with my friends, if that meant throwing a mini dance party in my room, it didn't matter. I would legitimately just close whatever book I had, shut down my computer, stop writing whatever I was writing, and I would do what I would want to do. Even if it meant that I was not studying or I didn't feel I was as prepared, I'm not going to stress myself out to the point where I feel like I just can't do it anymore for an exam that's never going to matter again. It's never going to matter. You are never, ever, and I mean this wholeheartedly with my entire being, ever going to be in a workforce that if you went into that degree, you are never going to say, I can't do, if you're like a doctor, I can't do this surgery because I failed this midterm. What? I can't represent this person on trial because I failed my final. Who gives a crap? If you're a good surgeon, if you're a good lawyer, guess what? Everybody has failed a test or two. I have. It's a thing. It happens. Like, okay, move on. That's it. You might not make it on the first try. That's okay. You might not make it on the second try. That's okay. If you want to do it, then do it. But don't stress yourself out of it because you can't do it if you're not here. Does that make sense? Does that help you guys with that? I know I'm a bit passionate about that, but I've been through a lot in that regard. But those are my examples for those two things. One thing that I definitely wanted to touch on before I pretty much wrapped up this video, because I don't want it to be too long. Your depression, your anxiety, your want to end it all, and whatever other mental illness you have will never go away. I know, I feel like it's a really dark note to end on, I'm sorry, but I just have to be honest with it. It's never gonna go away. It's never gonna go away. And you can either do one of two things on it. You can either dwell on it, or you can turn it into a joke. I'm constantly turning my mental illness into a joke. constantly. I'm not saying I'm joking about it as in like, oh, it's not a real thing, it's not as serious as it is, no. No, not at all. I'm talking about I'm joking with other people who have the same illnesses as me about what I'm feeling. And I'm just like, I don't understand. Like, you're feeling okay, and then next thing you know, like, you're just dying, and you don't get it. And like, why is this happening? Like, joking like that, it's almost like a self-depreciating joke, but it's not really. I feel like this is wrong. You're kind of acknowledging that it's messed up, but you're working through it in any way that you know how. And sometimes you just gotta make it lighthearted as much as possible. I know it's dark, but sometimes that's just what you gotta do to get through it. Okay? And sometimes that might help somebody else. It really might. It's not gonna help everybody. I'm gonna be honest right there. It's not gonna help everybody, and somebody's gonna be in the comments like, well, this is wrong, you shouldn't be joking about it. Look, okay? To each their own. I really don't care. But that's what I do, okay? But yeah, that's what I had. I hope it wasn't too ranty. I hope that this helped somebody. Again, even though it's never going to go away, it really is manageable. You really are able to live a successful life with it. If you're born with it, it's not the end of the world. If something happens and it triggers it, it's not the end of the world. There are plenty of successful people who have mental illnesses of all ranges, and they are doing just fine. You just need to be able to take care of yourself, and if things get to be a little too tough, just disappear for a while and then come back, and there's nothing wrong with that. But that's all I have for this video, you guys. If you like this video, go ahead and like this video, leave me a thumbs up, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, share this video. I feel like there are a lot more people out there who need to hear this video than those who do not. So please really do share this. It might help save a life. Again, I am not a doctor, I'm not a therapist, I am not a psychiatrist, I am not in any way, shape, or form clinically experienced in this, but as a person who has personal experience, I feel like it's okay to talk about it. And you should talk about it, it's not taboo. Turn on the notifications so that you know when I post another video. And if you guys have any symptoms or triggers or anything that you want to talk about, go ahead and drop that down in the comments below. If you like this video and you want to see more videos like this as like an advice type of thing, you can go ahead and drop that down in the comments below. Those are really the only mental illnesses that I have. Those are the ones I'm really comfortable talking on because I've experienced those. I don't know about the others all too much, but if you want me to do an anonymous thing and just talking about it, like, I'm totally cool with doing that. That's really it. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.